My old hometown of Miami there. State lawmakers in Utah just passed a new law to try to make trampoline parks safer. Utah joins at least 7 other states requiring more oversight from insurance companies and annual inspections. The popular theme parks have exploded into a billion-dollar industry. In the last 8 years alone, the number of trampoline parks has, here's a pun, jumped. The total increased from around 40 locations in the U.S. to more than 1,000 around the world. But in this country, they all operate without any federal oversight. Meg Oliver has been looking into the rise in injuries at these parks. Meg, good morning.
Good morning to all of you. Just days before that Utah law was signed, a high school football player was paralyzed after being injured at a trampoline park in that state. In the last 7 years, CBS News has confirmed at least 6 people have died from injuries at trampoline parks. That number could be even higher because many of those injured are often forced into arbitration and sign confidentiality agreements that stop them from speaking out. On most weekends, trampoline parks are packed with hundreds of kids bouncing, jumping into pits, and playing tag. Their popularity is leading to new cases for attorneys like David Chazen. He represents more than a dozen people injured at trampoline parks in New Jersey.
Look below the screen there.
At the bottom right of the screen, a father unknowingly causes what's known as a double bounce. His 4-year-old son falls to the mat.
The force of the trampoline coming back up from the father's hop across broke the 4-year-old's femur.
Oh my gosh.
It takes almost a full minute before anyone, including the guard on duty, realizes the child is squirming in pain.
Head back.
Don McPherson has coached gymnastics for more than 40 years.
Bravo.
Since 2011, he's been an expert witness in more than 200 plaintiff cases against trampoline parks. He says the injuries they can cause are life-altering.
Broken necks, broken backs, dislocated and open fractured elbows, shoulders.
These are injuries that seem like military grade.
They're all catastrophic injuries.
McPherson says the danger lies in the design. Several trampolines are connected with steel cables or chain links under thin padding. As people jump, waves of energy are generated in all directions, which can cause those double bounces that can end in high-impact collisions.
They're moving at speeds and with energy that when they hit or get hit by somebody else that's twice their weight, they end up with crush injuries.
Injuries so severe they can lead to death. At his peak, Rick Sweezy was a world-class gymnast.
Other than his children and me, that mattered most in his life was his gymnastics.
That all changed in 2017 when Rick visited a trampoline park in Virginia with his husband, Nick Scandalius, and their twins. Nick says Rick was jumping on the trampoline when he came down wrong on his foot, stumbled, and hit his head against a thinly padded wall.
The C2 vertebra cracked, constricted his airway and his blood flow, paralyzed him. He was over 90% brain dead.
Within 3 minutes, you lost the love of your life.
Yep. I watched the lights go out in his eyes.
In the last few years, emergency room visits caused by trampoline park injuries has skyrocketed. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the numbers have shot up from 2,500 in 2013 to almost 18,000 in 2017.
Everybody in the gymnastics community calls them death parks.
McPherson took us to a trampoline park outside Chicago.
This whole setup is wrong.
He pointed out several red flags from lack of supervision
There's no one here.
and trampolines flush against thinly padded walls.
How dangerous is that?
Dangerous. You'll get a brain bleed from hitting this.
To foam pits adjacent to trampolines that McPherson says are too shallow.
They probably have enough foam, but it's the design of their foam pits. They're not deep enough.
Are you risking your life when you go to these trampoline parks?
Yes, unknowingly.
For families like Nick's, the message is simple.
Never. Birthday parties, no, never, 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 never.
You believe they're that dangerous?
I don't know how to believe any other way, right? My husband was an elite level gymnast.
In response to the deaths and injuries, the International Association of Trampoline Parks told us there are parks that do not adhere to technical industry standards and do not operate with safety at the forefront of their agendas. The group will launch an initiative this summer to require third-party inspections to ensure the safest experience possible. The problem with that is, out of the 800 trampoline parks in the U.S., only 25% of them are members.
How can you tell if the one in your community is meeting standards?
You would have to go and find out if they are, following these standards. But the problem is, when you go into these trampoline parks, you see the signs. You're risking injury. You're risking death.
You're signing it all away.
You're signing everything away.
Is there any supervision? Because, we had a trampoline in my backyard, and there had to be an adult there watching to make sure.
At that park that we went to outside Chicago, there was a guard over here, a lot of kids jumping over here.
Yeah.
They need more supervision. That's the big thing.
I know it's fun, but now I'm a little scared looking at your piece. What about people that, like Anthony said, have trampolines at home?
And so the American Academy of Pediatricians, they advise against backyard trampolines, but the expert in our piece said, in the big picture, he thinks those are safer under adult supervision. I also talked to a trauma surgeon out in Utah who said he can fix those broken wrists from a backyard trampoline, but the injuries, the open wound fractures coming in from trampoline parks, it's really hard.
War zone injuries.
Very important story. Thank you very much, Meg.